Thank you, Madam President. Good afternoon, fellow colleagues, senators. Madam President, if you permit me just a minute, I wish to extend sincere condolences to the families who have lost their loved ones, as we discovered yesterday that 2 more persons died from COVID-19 right here in St. Lucia. And also to extend condolences to former Senator Joachim Henry, who suddenly lost his son, Dr. Josimar Henry. I remember this young man as a very warm and kind-hearted individual when he and I attended the St. Lucia School of Music. Very welcoming and very pleasant. He will certainly be missed. And Madam President, through you, I ask that our members, if they feel so inclined, to remember him and uplift him in prayer. Madam President, there seems to be a very dark cloud, a cloud of sadness, hopelessness, and dismay in this country, where almost everywhere you go, you encounter someone who is going through one of the worst periods of their life. And the grief that emanates from these people might sometimes put a damper on your spirit. But even in this dark era, we must find strength, and I find strength when I think of what Honorable Owen Arthur, former Prime Minister of Barbados, once said, that an event has happened among us upon which it is difficult to speak and impossible to be silent. And Madam President, this event that I speak of is the 2022 estimates that we are here to debate today. Madam President, before us is a resolution to adopt the report of the Standing Finance Committee on the estimates of expenditure for the financial year 2021-2022 in the sum of $1,638,600,900 as a charge against the Consolidated Fund and other funds of the state of St. Lucia, an estimate that determines the future of our people, and as the Prime Minister has said, the most important one of our time. But Madam President, I listened to the opening statement by the leader of government business, and I noted the same rhetoric, promises, PR, but not the reality. Who really is this budget for, Madam President? It is certainly not for the Rastafarian who continuously feels oppressed by a system, scared because he's still targeted as a minority group. He cannot practice his religion because the government still pays lip service when it comes to decriminalizing of marijuana. Hundreds of our boys are still behind bars because of a joint, and today is 420, recognized as World Cannabis Day. This bill is not for Devontae Monaville, who is a member of another minority group fighting for equality. It is not for Drew from Odza, who has no idea how she will send her children to school. It is not for the people of Mikunof, who are experiencing this gale of strong winds of mass destruction, where their children's laptop program was taken away. It is not for the young man caught in the web of crime and violence in Grosley, not for the vulnerable in Castries Central, who constantly experience this flood of poverty and suffering, not for the farmers of Castries Southeast, who are still waiting for that guy to bring the farmers market. Because you know why, Madam President? The story that we are living in right now is a story of two St. Lucians. Two St. Lucias, one that benefits friends, families, and undeserving foreigners, and one that does not prioritize the health and development of our people. And I will tell you what I mean by this. Madam President, of this $1.639 billion, noting the effects of COVID-19 on our revenues from the tourism industry, which represents the greatest part of our GDP, we still see no mention of diversifying our revenue forms to not just focus solely on filling hotel rooms, but on venturing into other areas which can stimulate the economy. Madam President, we take a look at page 27 of the Economic and Social Review 2020, where we see that the agriculture sector fell by 9.5%. We saw how our banana industry was severely impacted by unfavorable developments such as price wars in supermarkets in Europe, which is where we export our bananas to. These developments resulted in low retail prices. But Madam President, up to this day, I still do not understand why, and with everything that we are experiencing with COVID-19, including suffering a tremendous loss to supplying our produce to the hotels, who also took a blow to COVID, that there is just a failure to see the potential that our country holds as it relates to diversifying in our agricultural exports. And I pay attention to agriculture in this part of my presentation, Madam President, because I do believe that it is an untapped resource, an area that we should have been developing, seen more from the government in the estimates, but we still have not seen so. Madam President, according to a published document from the European Commission referring to an outlook for EU agricultural markets, the EU admits that it is not self-sufficient in certain inputs, such as mineral fertilizers, and they import these from markets such as China. With the sargassum seaweed that we complain about, which we find on the shores of the East Coast, which can be transformed into fertilizer, Senator, is one opportunity Senator, that we can tap into.
Senator, you just quoted from an EU source. From where? And in what year?
Okay, certainly. It's a published document released in 2020 on the website of the European Commission. I can, at a later time, circulate this for the other members to see.
Year?
Pardon?
The year?
2020.
Thank you.
So, as I was saying, Madam President, this same sargassum seaweed that we complain about, we can use that and transform it into some sort of fertilizer where our young people can tap into and actively participate, because this is a market that the EU has been saying is untapped, and they're certainly in need of resources such as mineral fertilizers. The coconut husks that pile up after coconut water sales, these can also be processed in what you call briquettes, which is compressed material that consists of combustible biomass, which can be used as coal or fuel. This is a brilliant idea from a young St. Lucian man who is still asking himself, why are we just not exploring our agricultural potential? Just think of the value added that cocoa presents. And I'm not just talking about the wet cocoa, but the chocolates which can go up for up to 10 US because it is exotic and coming from St. Lucia. These are things which demand the highest value in the same European Union markets, but yet still we are focusing on putting all of our eggs in one basket. Again, visionless. The services in agriculture that speak to our young people in IT, whether aquaponics or hydroponics, canning of our pineapples, canning of our mangoes, which soon in mango season will be seen falling from the trees in Moshi. All of these our young people can be part of in terms of developing our agricultural sector, both locally and exporting to our neighboring and regional territories. Even the fish in our waters, Madam President, we can salt them, we can dry them, we can reduce on the import of salt fish. Our neighboring islands such as Martinique are always looking for fish and fish products. But we do not have an accredited facility in St. Lucia to export to the EU. And the only countries in our region who have an accredited facility are Grenada and St. Vincent. Can you imagine how much we could tap into if we would just focus more on our agricultural sector? Can we imagine where St. Lucia will be if we only focused on these opportunities? Just imagine of the value that is added, because we know that the higher prices are received from the value added and not necessarily from products which are in its natural form. But again, we see that this industry was not taken seriously when the budget was presented to us, because our farmers, as we were told, cannot manage money. And of course, there has been no diversity in this industry, which will provide the answers for our food security and lowering our food import bill. Madam President, we take a look at page 29 and notice the decline in chicken production. And of course, this was attributed to diminished activity in the hotel and tourism sector, where demand was greatest locally. The area of livestock has proven to be another missed opportunity where there is no focus on outside markets. Madam President, you removed the abattoir in Beauce-Vieux-Fort, where we would be able to process specialized cuts in beef and goat meats, which we know attracts a higher price. And you know what you do? You replace it with a livestock station in Miku, which I understand is not a meat processing facility, but office space for technical assistance. I have to wonder, Madam President, what really drives the decision-making of this country? You would recall that the plan was for St. Lucia to supply the Southern Caribbean with livestock, those specialized cuts. You just have to wonder, what did the government drink? Because it appears to be drunk. Drunk with incompetence, drunk with no sense of direction, and drunk with no feelings for the livestock farmers who could have benefited from those regional opportunities. And so the loss of this abattoir and its potential might very well be the biggest loss to our agricultural diversification opportunities. I move on, Madam President, because at this point I want to bring our focus to what has been offered for youth development. A government that cares for our youth would not deliberately stifle their opportunities just because they did not vote for you, Madam President. You try to score cheap political points directed at the leader of the opposition and parliamentary rep for Castries East, a man of vision who has shown nothing but care for his people. And you will take to the airwaves and tell people, and I quote, "The people of Castries East chose categorically to reject the United Workers' Party at the last election. 11 other constituencies said to the United Workers' Party, yes, we want to build a new St. Lucia with you. We are on the road with you, and we will be working with you." And so the government sought to invest in those communities. You know what this says to me, Madam President? 2 St. Lucias. One for friends, family, and foreigners, and one for the people of St. Lucia who still have not received anything substantial from this government. But where in the world would you hear a government official tell its people, much less the people of your own constituency, that you did not vote for me, so I will not invest in you? Where, Madam President? But only in St. Lucia we see those things happening. Only in St. Lucia will we tolerate and accept this sort of behavior from politicians who should be representing a minority group in this honorable house, who should be an example for our children, who represent a ministry that seeks to represent the interests of the majority of our population, which is our young people. And this is what we have at the helm. This is the example that we want our children to follow. Why are these people still here in the house of the people? They should not be here, Madam President, because clearly they do not represent the interests of our people. Senator, but I will move on.
Senator, in your submission, we still have to remember we're in the Senate where we need to be polite and we do not refer to each other as these people.
Thank you, Madam President. I'm so guided. And I continue. I waited for an apology. I waited. But who was I kidding? Because this government tells our people that we will not support you if you do not support us. We are ashamed of you because you are an ex-convict. We do not want to talk to you because you have been to prison, and yet you want to attack a man who has done nothing but be honest in the last 25 years in this politics to represent the interests of our people.
Leader of Government Business.
Madam President, on a point of order, Madam President. 37.5, Madam President, the Senator is imputing improper motives to members on this side of the House, Madam President.
Senator.
Sorry, Madam President, with what improper motive? Okay, Madam President, through you, I just want our young people to understand that even when members on the other side say nothing, when we are continuously being victimized, that they should want to say something, Madam President. Because you know, our young people will tell you, I don't do politics because what I see happening with this government. But we must speak out. We cannot stay silent whilst we watch our people suffer under this administration year after year. The airport, what happened to the hotels you promised our people, which would create
government business.
Madam President, on a point of order, Madam President, I'm standing because I don't see the relevance to the bill, Madam President. I'm hearing about you are a criminal, I don't see anything relating to that. The bill does not relate to what is going on there, Madam President.
Senator?
Certainly you will understand as I tie it in.
Please tie what you're saying to the fact that we are dealing with the appropriation bill. And when you make that specific point, then move along.
Yes, Madam President. You see, what we have in front of us is an appropriations bill, and it makes it very difficult for our people to bite into it. And I will tell you why. The airports and what happened to the hotels that this government promised our people, which would create jobs for our young people. What we see, Madam President, again, is just promises and PR, but certainly not the reality. Renderings as if our people are not smart enough to see it. We're going to do this in 2016. We're going to do this in 2019. We'll do that in 2020 because of COVID. But even before COVID, Madam President, the government made promises to our people and it refuses to keep those promises. How realistic is this budget? If 4 years, 4.5 years, we still have not seen any major project from this government, and we are supposed to bite into this bill before us? All we are seeing is neglect for constituencies that did not bite in to the policies of the government. How realistic are those estimates, especially on the eve of an election? You broke ground in 2019 for the HIA, for the Urinura International Airport, and now, a few months away from an election, you decide to begin work with the aim of what? But Madam President...
Senator, also remember you're speaking to me, and you've said you are so many times, and I'm not doing any of the things you're saying. I did not want to stop you before, but you've said it so many times, okay? So you remember you're speaking to me.
Certainly. Thank you, Madam President. The projects that have needed urgent attention, providing relief to farmers, fishers, taxi drivers, barbers, pensioners, have not gotten an increase in pension for a very long time. Some of them, due to the effects of COVID, even their children have lost their jobs. But this government just does not care because we see appropriations for everything else but direct interventions for our people. Madam President, if we look at the allocation for the Ministry of Youth and Sports, $9 million, the government does not care about sportsmen and women in St. Lucia when we know that sports saves lives. It keeps our young people off the streets. It builds resilience. It builds discipline. And we see that the Ministry of Youth Development and Sports is one of the ministries with the lowest allocation, only $9 million. Only $9 million for the future of our country, our young people. But we see almost 20 million can be awarded in direct contracts for roads, for less than 2 miles of roads. Only 9 million, but you say that you care about the future of this country. Madam President, these estimates, the lack of substance, its emptiness, just shows me, it shows the people of St. Lucia that the government was certainly not producing and tried to use COVID as an excuse to execute last-minute projects when the clock has already started. You removed the laptop program, and now Sister Drew, as I said from Odsa, has 4 children using her phone to do their schoolwork, and you say you care about young people, 9 million. Even in this crucial time, school has reopened, And some ICT centers are still not fully functioning, like the one in Grand River Groselay. So where will our children go if the alternative to the one laptop per child was access to school and learning at these ICT centers? But still, you only give them $9 million. Madam President, we thought COVID was the greatest disaster we would experience, but the greatest disaster to this country is this government. Madam President, I anticipate the rebuttals and attacks on what I just said, because as we have seen, when one shares their opinion, the government will publicly let you know how it feels about you. Evidence of the two St. Lucias, and that's the two St. Lucias that we see. One which continues to stifle the democracy, freedom, and rights of our people. A St. Lucia created by this government that aims to play on your mind, that if you do not vote for me, I will not support you. Where people think that they now have to sell their souls just so they can feed their children. Why should our children have to follow these examples? But Madam President, I have faith in you, in our people. I have faith in humanity that come this next general election, they will vote for a party that is inclusive, a party that has deep empathy for our people, and a party that will put them first. Finally, Madam President, I look at what has been allocated in the Ministry of Health and what has been collected in nearly a year, almost $500 million, and we still do not know what all of this money has been used for, because there is always this lack of transparency with this government. We talk about our health being our wealth, but it seems that we are a very poor nation, not forgetting that the Prime Minister did say that the country is broke. Our healthcare system is broken. We are still in a crisis due to the mismanagement of the effects of the pandemic by this government. But I really want to ask, with the money that has been received, has it been used to improve, say, even our contact tracing systems? I'm not too sure about that, Madam President, and I can speak firsthand of this. Because of the 69 deaths in St. Lucia that we had, one of them was my grandfather. And I want to tell everybody who is listening through you, Madam President, exactly what is going on. A few weeks ago, we were home, we got a call. My grandfather was not feeling too well. I'm just tying it in, Madam President, to the allocations for our health sector. We got a call about my grandfather not being too well, and he needed to be rushed to the hospital. The doctor diagnosed him and said he had pneumonia.
Senator, let us have your story as quickly as possible, because I'm really giving you some latitude here. It's about the appropriation bill, and you keep telling me you're going to tie things to the bill.
Certainly, Madam President, because with all the amount we see that is being shared, these amounts that is being shared to take care of our health sector, we are just not seeing where the money is going. And my example, my personal story tells you that even for things, simple things, the simplest thing, which is contact tracing, to help prevent the spread of COVID-19, it is not happening. Madam President, our healthcare system is in a mess, like I said. So the example that I was giving was we got a call that he had pneumonia, brought him to the hospital. We later on got a call saying he tested positive for COVID-19. We did not see him in the hospital. The family members who took care of him never saw him. Weeks passed because my family had to come to St. Lucia so they can bury their father. Up to a day like today, we have not seen the man that we put into the ground. But you know how we found out that he had COVID-19? After a press release was stated out there, issued to the public. This is when we found out. Up to a day like today, nobody from the ministry has called and asked about, did you interact with this and that person? That just goes to show you how our healthcare system continues to fail us.
Madam President, on a point of order or a point of elucidation, Madam President, I want to make it clear in this House that the Ministry of Health does not release press releases with anyone's name on it, Madam President. Not any deceased person, not any patient. Thank you, Madam President.
Senator, can you move along? I'm still not seeing the connection between the appropriation bill and your example.
Yes, Madam President. As I explained, I am giving an example as to why it is impossible to believe that these monies that is being budgeted for will be used for the intended purposes.
No, you said it originally it was to show that contact tracing was not occurring. You have not brought it to that. You're talking about a press release and notifying of a death, but you have not spoken to contact tracing.
Well, yes.
Which you said was part of how monies are spent in the appropriation bills. So if you can't tie it to that, then move along.
Madam President, right before the leader of government business stood, I was making the point that up to a day like today, nobody from my family has been contacted to find out if there was any interaction with the person that was said to have been diagnosed with COVID-19. I'll move on, Madam President. We are still, as I said, not sold on any fact that this contact tracing is at a level that we can say we can manage what COVID might bring next. The forensic lab was opened for only a week. Machinery needed to give a quicker turnaround to lab results was not even present. Can we not afford it with the nearly $500 million we have borrowed so far? Madam President, you see, putting people first is just not a catchphrase. It is something deeper. And from the research that I have done, which goes back as far to the founding fathers of the St. Lucia Labour Party, who were moved to form this party under the slogan, Bread, Justice and Freedom, it focuses on putting people first at the center of everything we do. As I said, Madam President, earlier, it is very difficult to bite into these appropriations. It is difficult to believe that even before COVID, there were plenty of opportunities for the government to deliver in key areas, and still there is nothing to show for it. Madam President, as a young person speaking on behalf of other young people, seeking to change the lives of others, I pondered on the words written in 1957 by Ayn Rand, and she said, "When you see that in order to produce, you need to obtain permission from men who produce nothing, when you see that money is flowing to those who deal not in goods, but in favors, when you see that men get richer by graft and by pull than by work, and your laws don't protect you against them, but protect them against you, when you see corruption being rewarded and honesty becoming a self-sacrifice, you may know that your society is doomed." But this is not what we want, Madam President. And as we look forward to what is to come, we must make that conscious decision to choose wisely. And with those words in mind, I want, through you, Madam President, to appeal to our sons and daughters of St. Lucia that we cannot say, "I don't do politics," because silence is a political statement. We cannot stay silent on matters that determine our future. If we want to build a resilient nation, if we want to adapt, to overcome, and continue persevering, we must understand that putting people first is the only way we can achieve this. And with the leadership of Honorable Philip J. Pierre, the St. Lucia Labour Party will lead this great country out of this dark hole, because there is certainly light at the end of the tunnel. Thank you.